Get you. Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says, if a drainage conduit is covered for 4 cubits in the public domain, we may pour water into it on Shabbos. But the Chachamim say, even if it runs along a roof or a courtyard for 100 cubits, one may not pour into the opening of the conduit. But he pours from the roof to roof, and the water descends into the conduit. A courtyard and a colonnade combine to a total of 4 cubits. Similarly, two balconies that are opposite one another, if one of them made a pit while others did not make a pit, those who made a pit are permitted, but those who did not make a pit are prohibited. All the roofs of a town are one domain, provided that one roof is not 10 fists higher or lower than the others. These are the words of Reb Meir. The Chachamim say each is a domain for itself, and Reb Shimon says roofs, courtyards, and carpios are all one domain, with respect to utensils which began the Sabbath in them, but not with respect to utensils which began the Sabbath in the house. Okay.
Okay. Mishnah base. Gag gadol samuch lekatan. Okay, so have you got a diagram of that in your Mishnah?
Yes, it's.
See what you've got? That's it. There. Yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you can see that if you're standing in the small roof, all you see, and you're looking towards the big roof, all you see is one big open space. You don't see any walls. Whereas if you're on a big roof, looking into the small roof, you can see two walls and then an opening into the small roof.
Okay.
So now, since they're open, the large roof is allowed to carry, because he's got a clear division between himself and the small roof. Okay, assuming this is they didn't make an error between them. Okay, mutava katan asur. But the one who's got the small roof, he doesn't have a proper division between his roof and the neighbor's roof.
Right.
Okay, so this is, by the way, just to be clear, the previous Mishnah that we saw, that all of the roofs of the city are considered as one rishus. That's when they're not in use. That's when you're like literally walking on the tiles or whatever. It's not not like in common use. But this is clearly a flat roof where the neighbors are using it much like they would their own houses. Okay, so the small roof he's not allowed to carry in because he doesn't have a clear division between himself and the large roof. Okay. Hagadol mutar v'katan asur. Chatzer gadola shenifrat katana hagadola muteres v'katana asur. So the same thing applies to a courtyard with the same configuration. I am not sure why the Mishnah needs to mention both cases, because they seem to be the same case. Mipnei shehi kapischa shel gadola, because the small one is just like a doorway in the large one. What happens if you have a chatzer that is entirely open into the rishus harabim? Okay, with the fence is broken. The fence between it and the rishus harabim is completely broken down.
We have this one here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah. Okay. That looks like two things. Okay. Okay. If somebody carries from the rishus hayachid into it, or from it into the rishus hayachid, he's chayav divrei Rabbi Eliezer. So Rabbi Eliezer says it's a complete rishus harabim, and you're chayav min haTorah for carrying between them. Chachamim omrim no, not so far. They make the point that this is separate from the Rishus Harabim. It's called the Carmelis. It's not really Rishus Harabim because you don't have the Rabim spilling into that space. But what you do, it is treated like a Carmelis, which is asur to carry in. It's treated basically like a Rishus Harabim midrabanan. But carrying between them is your pater. Okay. Mishnah Gimel Chatzer shenifrat rishus harabim mishtei ruchoseha. What happens if you've got a chatzer that's open on both of its sides into the rishus harabim? Okay. Right. So now obviously Rabbi Eliezer is going to hold that this is a rishus harabim. He said even if it's open on one side. Okay. V'chein bayis shenifrat mishtei ruchosav. And similarly, a house that is broken in two of its corners, in fact, in the commentary points out that this is in the corners of the house that are broken down, because if it's just broken in a wall, that's just like a doorway.
Right.
But if it's broken in the corner of the house, that's not a normal place to have a doorway. So therefore, it's considered like it's broken through, and it's not just like a doorway. Similarly, if you've got the alleyway where the Pesach, the beams or the uprights that are designating the opening of the doorway are broken down. Okay. Mutarin ba'osa Shabbos v'asurin asilavodi Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda says that for this Shabbos, they're okay. So if you started off Shabbos with the partitions in place and they got broken during Shabbos, that's okay, says Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Omer, im mutarin lo'osa Shabbos mutarin lasid lavo. If they're mutar for this Shabbos, then they're mutar forever. V'im asurin lasid lavo, and if they're asur forever, then they're asur for the Shabbos. He disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda and says that you can't make a distinction between this Shabbos and other Shabbos. It's either it's a good mechitza or it's not a good mechitza, and you can't, as opposed to the distinction between that and, for example, an Eruv, where if an Eruv food got eaten, okay, so it was meant to be eaten on that Shabbos, and then it's no good. It's still good for the current Shabbos, but it's not good for the following Shabbos. But if it's that's where the principle of it's mutter for this Shabbos and asur for any following Shabbos, that's where it makes sense. But in this case, yeah, we're talking about a mechitza that permits that designates something as a rishus harabim. If the mechitza gets broken down, then your rishus yachid has become a rishus harabim, and it's and you can't carry in it anymore. And that is the halacha paskin over here. Anything else to mention? Okay. Mishna Daled. Habone aliyah al gabe shnei batim. So somebody builds an attic on top of two houses. In other words, the attic actually forms a bridge over the two houses.
Right.
Okay. And similarly, if you've got a bridge and it's open, underneath the bridge, it's open on both sides. So Rabbi Yehuda says it's fine to carry underneath that. It's considered a rishus hayachid underneath the bridge, because why he's saying like a good asik, you've got walls, you've got imaginary walls that drop down from the bridge and fence off the area underneath. Chachamim Austrian say no such thing. Okay. Let's just see. There was actually some peirush over here. So Rabbi Yehuda says it's like the walls drop down and fence it up. But the Chachamim say you don't say that. Also, Rabbi Yehuda says, similarly, Rabbi Yehuda says that you can make an eruv for an open alleyway. In other words, without anything, not a lechi or korah, even if it doesn't have the beams or the uprights, then you can make it. You can still make an eruv on it. And the Chachamim say no. It's you have to have if you've only got two mechitzas, in other words, the two walls on the sides, it doesn't help to put a lechi or a korah on either side, because you're right. You've got to put a tzuras pesach. You've got to make it look like a doorway. And that way you can make it. Then it's like at least you've got some proper. You've got at least 3 mechitzas. So on the other side, on the other side, you've got to have at least a doorway, so that the lechi or korah can help on the other side. Okay, and the halacha follows the chachamim against Rabbi Yehuda. Okay.
All right.
Cool. Vav Yud.
Wait, I'm sorry. I went ahead. Vav Yud. Okay. If one resident of the outer forgot to contribute to the Eruv, the inner is permitted while the outer is prohibited. If one from the inner forgot, both are prohibited. If they placed the Eruv in one place and one resident of either the inner or outer forgot to contribute to the Eruv, both are prohibited. But if they were inhabited by individuals, they need not make an Eruv. A window between two courtyards. No, sorry. A window between two courtyards. If it is 4 by 4 fists within 10, they may make 2 Eruvin. Or if they wish, they may make 1 Eruv. Less than 4 by 4 or higher than 10, they make 2 Eruvim, but may not make 1 Eruv. If a wall between two courtyards is 10 fists high and 4 wide, they make 2 Eruvin, but may not make 1 Eruv. If there was fruit on top of it, they ascend from here and eat, and those ascend from there and eat, provided they do not bring down. If the wall was reached up to 10 cubits, they make 2 Eruvin, or if they wish 1 Eruv, because it is like an entrance. Greater than that, they make it 1 Eruv, but may not make 2 Eruvin.
Okay.
Let's see one thing over here. Let's do this.
Shabbos Vav Yud Zayin.
I just want to check one thing here. Okay, I got it. All right. One second. I just lost my place. I was looking something up and I lost it. Where did we start on here? We started on in Eruvin.
We're in Shabbos Yud Zayin Vav.
But where did we finish in I just forgot where I was. My marker came out, so I'm not sure where it is. I want to get it.
Your marker came out, yeah, okay. So have you got Shabbos Perek Yud Zayin?
I'm on Eruvin. I'm talking about Eruvin with the marker.
Oh, in Eruvin. Oh, beg your pardon. So fine. We finished today. Just which one? The new ones.
The last one. We just finished.
Okay, so we're going to start tomorrow at the beginning of Perek Yud.
Okay. No.
Well, actually, the new ones are Perek Yud. So the Chazaras will be from Test Base.
Okay, sorry. Test Base. Hold on, man. Okay. Tomorrow Test Base. Okay. All right. Shabbos. Yud Zayin.
Yud Zayin.
Yud Vav?
Yud Zayin Vav, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A stone that is in a gourd shell, if water can be drawn with it without it falling out, we may draw water with it, and if not, we may not draw water with it. A branch that is tied to a pitcher, he may draw water with it on Shabbos. A window shutter. If Eliezer says when it is fastened and suspended, we may shut the window with it, but if not, we may not shut the window with it. But the comments say in either case, we may shut the window with it. All utensil covers that have handles may be taken on Shabbos. Said Reb Yossi, when is it said? Regarding a cover of a hole in the ground, but regarding cover of utensils, in either case, we may take them on Shabbos. We may clear away.
That's it. That's 3. We're now on to Maser Sheni.
Okay. Now we're going to start. We're going to start Yud Ches tomorrow. Okay. All right. Maser Sheni. If one buys cattle for peace offerings, or a non-domestic animal for meat consumption, the hide becomes not holy, even though the hide exceeds the flesh. Sealed jars of wine in localities where they are sold sealed, the jar becomes not holy. Nuts and almonds, their shells become not holy. Grape residue wine, before it is fermented, it may not be bought with mice and money. After it has fermented, it may be bought with mice and money. If one buys a non-domestic animal for a peace offering or cattle for meat or consumption, the hide does not become non-holy. Open or sealed jars of wine, when they are sold open, the jars do not become non-holy. Baskets of olives and baskets of grapes together with the receptacle, the value of the receptacle does not become non-holy. And if one buys water or
Hold on a second, Eliezer. Okay.
If one bought cattle in error, the money must be returned. If wittingly, he must go up and be eaten in the place. But when there is no temple, it must be buried together with its hide. Okay.
Okay. That's it. Nida.
If a woman aborts a tutum, a tumtum, tumtum, or an adrenai, she observes the periods of tuma and tahara for a male and female. If she aborted either a tumtum on a male or an androgen and a male, he observes the periods of tuma and tahara for a male and a female. However, if a woman aborted either a tumtum and a female or an androgen and a female, she need only observe the periods of tuma and tahara for a female child. If the fetus emerges dismembered or inverted when a majority of it emerges, it is considered born. If the fetus emerges in the usual manner, it is considered born. When a majority of its head emerges and what is considered most of its head, when its forehead comes out. If a woman aborts something that is not known what it is, she observes the periods of Tuma and Tahara for a male and a female. However, if it is not known whether it was a child or night, she must observe the Tuma laws of a male, a female, and a Nida.
Because now you've got to add in the extra chumrah, because maybe this was not maybe it wasn't a child at all. Maybe this is just stam nida.
Right.
And then she's got the extra chumrah of needing the extra chumras of nida is that, hang on, what is the, because for the birth, the chumrah of nida is that there's no dam tara. Whereas so for a boy and for a girl, so she's got to act like tame for 14 days, and there's no dam tara because she might have been a nida. Okay.
A woman who miscarried on the 40th day need not be concerned for a child. If she miscarried on the 41st day, she must observe the Tuma laws for a male, a female, and a Nida. Ishmael says if she miscarried on the 41st day, she must observe the Tuma laws for a male and a Nida. If she miscarried on the 81st day, she must observe the Tuma laws for a male, female, and a Nida, for a male embryo is completed by the 41st day, and a female embryo is completed by the 81st day. But the comments say concerning both the creation of a male embryo and the creation of a female embryo, this one and that one both require 41 days. I don't know how at this time in the world that they knew this. The 40th day, the 41st day.
They didn't. They were relying on the scientists of the time to tell them what is happening, and that was what they learned from the science of the time.
One who but we say that the 40 days is that's the cutoff point.
40 days is considered that's the cutoff point for what's considered a technical embryo.
Right.
Before that, it's just considered cells.
Right. If one who buys the fetus of a cow belonging to a non-Jew, or sells one to him, even though it is not permissible, or enters into a partnership with him, or receives a cow from him to hold, or gives one to him to hold, it is exempt from Bechor laws as it states in Israel, but not in others. Kohanim and Levites are liable. They were not exempted from the Bechor law of kosher animals, and they were exempted only from the redemption of the son and from the law of the firstborn donkey. All consecrated animals whose permanent blemish preceded their consecration and which were redeemed are subject to the laws of Bechor and the gifts due the Kohen, and they revert to mundane status even to the extent that they may be shorn and put to work. Their offspring and their milk are permissible after their redemption, and one who slaughters them outside the temple courtyard is not liable. They do not affect Tumorah, and if they died prior to the redemption, they may be redeemed except for the Bechor and the Maisa offering. And all consecrated animals whose consecration preceded their blemish, or whose temporary blemish preceded their consecration, and a permanent blemish developed in them afterwards, and they were redeemed, are exempt from the laws of Bechor and from the gifts due to Kohen. But they do not revert to mundane status due to the extent that they may be shorn and put to work. Their offspring and their milk are prohibited after the redemption, and one who slaughters them outside the temple courtyard is liable, and they affect Tumorah, and if they died, they must be buried.
Sota.
if its head was found in one place and its body in another, we bring the head to the body. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yaakov Akiva says, the body is brought to the head. From where would they measure? From Eliezer says from his navel, and Rabbi Akiva says from his nose. Eliezer ben Yaakov says from the place that he became a corpse, his neck. The elders from Yerushalayim took their leave and went on their way, and then the elders of that city bring a female calf which has never been worked and which is never drawn with a yoke. However, a blemish does not disqualify. They bring it down to an Izian valley, Izian in its literal sense, rock hard. However, if it is not rock hard, it is acceptable. They decapitate it with a cleaver from behind. Its site is forbidden to be sown or worked, but is permitted to comb flax and chisel stones there.
Okay.
All right.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you very much.
A pleasure.
Enjoy. Okay. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.